Devil's advocate. Let's say there's a school of thought that says everything in art has to have circles, and you know what school I'm talking about if you're listening. Everything has circles in it, and you are a dropout of that school. You hated it. You hated that program, and you uh, became tried to develop a name for your artwork by making nothing but squares and attacking the circle at every, just deflating it, puncturing, just anti circle school. um, well, you would say, well, that's more of an activist. That's more of a, he's more of an artist because he's anti-academia. But in fact, he's in the academic argument, so he still is an academic artist, or she. Um, and if the art is overly cerebral, if I have to look at 50 fish tanks in a room with one with a basketball, one with a soccer ball, one with a baseball, and they're floating, some aren't, you know what? You're academic and you're freaking boring. And you may have an idea, but I honestly feel that the viewer is going to get a hell of a lot more out of reading the didactic panel against the wall than they are by looking at fish tanks full of water with balls in them. Although, no. So that's academic. Illustration art should be rather obvious. That's advertising, product oriented, mass distribution, visual aids. It's subject based. Basically, that's the most important thing in an illustrative art is the subject. How it's created, that can be interesting, especially in our digital age. But bottom line is, if you get that it's a supercar, or if you get, and the content may just be buy this. So the content is small, subject is large, medium not so much. Commercial art. Now we get to an emotional barrier. What's commercial art as opposed to everyday fine art or art? Um, Commercial art has at its root uh, a pay the rent. In other words, it's very populist. If cowboys are popular, then you do nothing but cowboys. Now, you may be an excellent painter, medium. You may be really good at number one, the medium. Your subject may just be consistently cowboys, or cows, or landscapes, or fish, or tennis balls, whatever. Um, but once again, the content is greatly diminished in your equation. I should come up with an actual equation. I'll save that for another tape or video. You can tell I'm old tape. Uh, um, yeah, we need to have some kind of an equation to measure what percentage medium, what percentage subject, what percentage content, and what weights they have in our evaluation of art. I'll come up with that, I promise you. But again, commercial art content, small percentage. What it has to say is very little. It's all about the subject and how it's painted. I've heard outsider art used a lot, and these days it's used for anybody who, guess what, didn't go to the academy. Well, the people who came up with that determination of what outsider art is are academicians. Okay, that's a load of crap. Look it up on Wikipedia, look it up anywhere. Outsider art is about art by mentally divergent people. It was invented by somebody who was early in the 20th century trying to make a case for a new kind of school of thought on art, and it was art brut, or art from very low brow, very low materials, very low, just, you know, the poor starving artist myth. And art created from that place, and he was invited by a friend to go to a mental institution and look at the art those people were creating, and it was all crazy and otherworldly and infantile, and you know, either heavy sexual themes or aliens and monsters and all that stuff. And I'm not saying your kid is an outsider artist, don't hear this. What I'm saying is art of very low quality of the medium. There's the percentages again: medium, small; subject, big; content, content invented; content fantastical, not like surrealism, fantastical like not of this world. people who don't understand. If you asked them who the president of the United States was, or what's the biggest continent on the, what's the name of the planet you're on, they would say Golob or something else, or they wouldn't be able to relate at all. Or, I mean, we're talking about seriously mental affected people. This is where the term comes from. This is what an outsider artist is. For these art markets in New York and other places to say that anyone who doesn't have a degree or a PhD and a rubber stamp on their head says, I'm an artist because the school says so, see, I got a degree. Um, that's just supremely insulting to me and should be to you too. So I hate that term outsider art. I understand it for what it is and I get that, but the way it's used today, insulting. All right, folk art, another one that's misused all the time, and a lot of people confuse outsider art with folk art. After you've heard this, no more. Folk art is art created by people in their environment because they needed to create. I mean, it's from whittling to doilies to people that do nothing, that do their, or maybe make somewhat of a living by making little bird boxes out of old shingles and stuff. It's it's art that's made out of the stuff at hand by people who, and I don't want to use education here because it doesn't matter. What matter, except that education exposes you to a greater world and more opportunities and greater depth of thinking. The content gets bigger. For folk artists, content is very regional. It's about their life, their mom, the life in their town, the life in their little area of the world, and it's very autobiographical, and it's very limited in skill, but there's skill in it. There's, the medium is in there. The subject's definitely in there, but it's usually me, and not that that's bad, but it's very regional, provincial, local. If somebody's been to college and gone through just the basic requirements of higher education, you can't claim to be a folk artist because you know too much. You're informed by a greater vision of the world. You're not retarded. You're not mentally deficient, but the scope of what you know is very limited. That's a folk artist. Again, a very misused term. Um, Now I'm going to go back to fine art. I'd like to consider myself somewhere in that milieu. Um, but it's hard. It's hard because fine art is so polluted by these other political terms. Um, but I will say that content reigns supreme for the artist. That if you're a painter out there, or a sculptor, or a filmmaker, whatever, and your objective as a woman, or as a man, or as a guy, or as a girl, or whatever, is to change people's minds, affect thinking in some regard, explore an area of the human experience that you don't think has been explored adequately. In other words, you're driven by meaning and storytelling and content, and you make it your business to get very adept with the medium that you work with, and you then choose areas of subject matter that will help you expose the content you want to question or put out there. Now those three aspects of medium, subject, content, oh, they start coming way up. They get more and more important. You, my friend, are a real fine artist. You are what has throughout time been the mark of great artwork. People dedicated to learning their craft well, to represent in their craft ideas and thoughts and things in a manner that is meaningful both to the medium and to the idea, the content. All three have to be there in great proportion. Now you're a fine artist. So anyway, that's 18 and a half minutes. So whatever else I have to say on this, I'll have to continue another video. If you have any questions or comments, post them below. Love you for listening. Thanks so much. for indulging me. And I'll see you next time. Bye bye.